broadcast school has really paid off.
And Christian Peck-Dimit.
Do you want to keep this job? Shut up, listen, learn.
The region's only local sports talk show, discussing it all from the preps to the pros.
What time is it? Game time!
Simulcasting on AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, streaming online at nwksradio.net and the Rockingham app.
They are everywhere.
The Blitz is presented by the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
This ball back up the middle. Bishop with the base hit. King slow to the plate, offline, and the Wildcats have the lead.
Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike three. Cole Reagans dials up a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. He sets a new career high with 12 strikeouts. He gets a standing ovation at Kauffman Stadium. Cole Reagans, cold-blooded.
Driving free. What a play by Reed. Here they come the other way. Anderson, the trailing Edwards, goes into Jones. Sets and feeds. Corner three. Reed. Doncic with McDaniels there. Shot clock at 7. Luka will make a move. Wants it ripped. Doncic puts it in. 4-point Dallas lead.
Did you see how he...
Next pitch to McMahon. Hit well to right field. Going back is Nevin to the track, and it's gone! Towering shot hit by Ryan McMahon to right field, and the Rockies have taken, in the top of the 12th inning, a 4-2 lead.
Did anybody happen to stay up and watch the Rockies last night? Because this guy did. I stayed up and watched what should have been over about 45 minutes earlier, and still a Rockies win, a Rockies W last night. Oh my goodness. So late last night, Christian, I'm laying in bed. Like I'm actually sitting on the couch. I'm going to start with the story there. I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm, like, waiting for this Rockies game to start. I actually have, like, because I'm writing up for my sports report, I actually have written out the whole recap I've written out, Rockies win 2-1. Austin Gomber was great, so on and so forth, and have it all written out. And what happens in the bottom of the ninth? The Athletics tie it up and send it to extras. And so Ross then goes and takes a shower. Ross actually gets into bed and watches the rest of it, and then pulls himself out of a semi-slumber to go write the recap and do the sports report late last night. I could have gotten an extra half hour sleep if the Rockies bullpen would quit blowing games. That would have been really handy. My goodness.
And they got such a great start. They got such a great start from their pitching, too. But
Gomber was amazing last night. It's a season high. Season high, 8 innings last night for him?
8, 6
strikeouts. He was great. They got off to a great start. Elias Diaz had a 2-run blast to get things going. So, shoot. And then Ryan McMahon plays hero. And thanks to my fantasy team, I've got Ryan McMahon. But Ryan McMahon plays hero there and hits a 2-run bomb in the top of the 12th, and that was enough. They actually needed that extra run because that 1 run wouldn't have been enough. But they get the win last night over the Athletics, tying that series up at a game apiece.
Important question for you. How's the fantasy baseball team doing?
We're hovering around 500 right now. It's probably where we're sitting. Probably like an average baseball team. I wish I was like one of our players who's good every year. I mean, he's a fantasy baseball master, and he's one of those guys where, he's kind of good at everything he does. He's a broadcaster. He's a really good broadcaster. He's really good at fantasy sports, in particular fantasy baseball. He really knows how to get the right guys and how to set the right stuff. And whereas, I think I finished 3rd is the highest I've ever finished in this league that we're in right now, which is pretty good. I won my money back, so that was good. But I don't know, our league is challenging because I feel like there's a lot of positions to fill. And when you have a lot of positions to fill, you really got to dig deep in Major League Baseball rosters to fill your team.
Is it because of the format of the league, or you just got a big league?
I think it's 9 guys, I think is what it is that's in it. So it's not a huge league, but there's like 4 outfielders and 2 infielders. And
wow. Okay.
It's not like 9 guys. It's more like 12 or 13 guys in the lineup, maybe even 14 guys in the lineup. And so it's a little challenging to find some players sometimes that fill the depth that you need. So, and it doesn't help that my Diamondbacks, who I drafted Corbin Carroll, although he did have 2 RBIs late last night against the Dodgers, as they won in Dodger Stadium for the first time since 2017. Won a series, I should say.
Yeah.
Won a series in Dodger Stadium for the first time since 2017. But nonetheless, that has not helped me out with Corbin Carroll and stuff off to a sophomore slump at this point in time. So, nonetheless, good Thursday morning, everybody. It is the Morning Blitz. Glad you could join us any way you're doing so. Radio, video, we don't care. We're just glad that you're with us here on this beautiful Thursday morning. A little blustery out there today. 55 degrees to kick off a day that's going to reach into the upper to mid 80s. Going to be a toasty one out there today. Might have to kick on the old AC if you haven't done so yet. I've already done it. I'm not going to suffer through that. Give me the air conditioning. But good day today with the sun. It could be a little blustery, though, today, and a chance of some storms tonight, especially if you're on the eastern edge of our listening area. If you're out there, Colby and east, some chance for some severe weather tonight, so be aware of that as you make some plans for this evening. Today's program, well, we've got Bryce Simon, going to be a first-time guest on the Blitz. We'll be talking to him about what am I doing?
Second time.
So that's right. I forgot. He joined you. Second time on the show. That's right. Christian had him on. Second time on the show. Bryce Simon will join us to talk some NBA basketball, as last night the Mavericks pull out one on the exhausted and tired-looking T-Wolves, and they even admitted so after using up all that energy apparently against Denver. So we'll talk with him about that. We'll get a college baseball update. Yesterday was another great day of college baseball, and plenty more things to get to in the front page here in just a matter of moments. So anyway, it's a full show ahead today. Full show.
Yes.
And
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, lots to get to. And I want to get it all going, of course, with the front page.
Read all about it. Read all about it.
The top stories of today.
I got the early edition, hot off the press.
It's the front page on the Morning Blitz.
Front page, really?
I'll tell you, we're just going to kick it off since we just a real quick. We don't want to dive too deep in it because we'll spend more time with Bryce Simon. But last night, NBA basketball, Mavericks do hold off the Timberwolves. I thought it was kind of funny that the T-Wolves actually admitted post-game that they were tired from the Denver series, and that's why they didn't play that great last night. At least that's what I kind of got from the post-game nuggets.
In theory, they did get an extra day of rest. Did the Mavs, who finished their series Saturday, as opposed to the T-Wolves, who finished theirs late Sunday night. But my goodness, did you watch any of that fourth quarter? Anyone who did,
Got some highlights.
Reggie Miller could not shut up about the fact that Anthony, and obviously he's not a great color guy, but you couldn't go 2 possessions without hearing him go, Anthony Edwards is gassed right now. He's gassed. Absolutely. He kept using the word gas. But he was gassed. And I think because of that, the offense got away from Edwards a little bit. He really didn't take very many shots in the fourth. Those that he did were sort of off a screen, going left, that rise up triple that he likes, but doesn't expend a whole lot of energy. And obviously the moves that he usually makes, he loves that mid-range jumper. Couldn't really get to those, or didn't get to those, didn't have the energy left. He was checking Kyrie, especially in the second half. That was his matchup. Got a 30-piece from old Mr. Irving. And I'll be surprised after another day of rest here if they settle into the series a little bit and how different game 2 is, just because, hey, maybe they are a little bit less gassed.
I expect them to settle down and get back into this series. I would be stunned if the Mavericks just go out there and completely wipe the floor with them. So I expect this series to get a little bit closer, that's for sure. 108-105, the final score last night. Luka Doncic was very, very good. Had some very clutch shots, some very big-time shots, particularly down the stretch. He ended up with 33 points last night. I think he had 15 in the fourth quarter.
15 in the fourth quarter, and we'll talk about it. But the bigs for the Mavericks were very good as well. Dan Gafford, 10 points, 9 boards, and off the bench, Lively, who more or less splits time with Gafford. The starter, 9 points, 11 boards, 3 assists, and that all-important plus 19 plus minus.
Yeah. So anyway, and last night, Ant Edwards just 19 points on 6 of 16 shooting. Karl-Anthony Towns 6 of 20 shooting. So not very efficient. Once again, you could see tired that could be one of the reasons for tired body, tired legs, and wants to win. Still, though, great game, 108-105, as the Mavericks take a 1-0 lead in the West. The East starts up again tonight with Game 2 of their series. Boston leading that 1-0. You got any quick predictions on that? You think they're going to get back to 1-1, or does it Celtics go up 2-0? They're in the Garden again, right?
Yeah, they are in the Garden again. I think
the Garden. They're not the original Garden. That's no longer there, unfortunately.
No, I think if you ask some of those old players, fortunately, apparently they were just like, it was not in great shape. Was the court by the end?
The TD Garden or the original Garden?
The original Garden. There were
the OG Garden.
Oh yeah, great
stories.
But
great stories.
There was like, people would talk about like there were feet between like floorboards and like all of this crazy.
It was a relic. It was a relic.
Exactly.
No air conditioning. When they played in June, it was a sweat box. No AC. Yeah, the floor was coming up. Oh, the amount of character in that place. What I would do for a piece of the original parquet floor from the Garden. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Someone's got that in their man cave. You know it in Boston somewhere. It'd be awesome.
That's true.
Anyway,
I think Boston takes a 2-0 lead. I think it was sort of a heartbreaker the way that Indiana lost, especially we talked about how costly their late turnovers were. They didn't have it in hand, so to speak. They weren't dominating or anything, but late in that game, it felt like they could have come away with that win, and they sort of gave it away. I think they get a little bit of an emotional come down and take another loss here. 2-0 Boston after tonight is my prediction.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I don't know. We'll see. I'd say it'd be a huge win for the Pacers if they can pick up a one road win there at TD Garden. That would be huge if they could get that done. Might change my thoughts on that series overall. I still think Boston's going to get it done. I want us to change over to local sports a little bit here and highlight a couple of area athletes. I want to start first and foremost with Colby Community College Baseball's Carter Roth. We have talked about him before, and we have had him we've had his coach, Ryan Carter, on the show multiple times, but boy, what a season it was for Carter Roth this year for Colby Community College Baseball. I just want to give you once again some of the great numbers that Carter Roth put up this year. And the reason why we're bringing him up is he was selected as a first-team All-KJCCC West player. He was a first-team All-Selection. He was the only Colby player to earn postseason honors was Carter Roth, but he was a first-team selection.
And if you look at these KJCCC teams, they got the full loadout of first team, first base, second base, all the way through. Full loadout second team, and then they've got about 1,000 people
on
honorable mention, and none of them were Colby.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to two things. One, the season that Colby had, which was rough. I believe you have to win some games if you're going to have players. It's like I've said this many times in this show. I love the discussion of. I absolutely love the discussion of. It's like a chicken or egg discussion. What comes first? Do all league players make a team great, or does a really good team make all league players? Like, do you have to have a great record in order to get that recognition, or can you and I've always had the belief that you had to, and if you have to have at least a semi decent record if you're going to have first team all whatevers. Sure. You're not going to, because If you are an amazing player, you're going to have, just ridiculous stats that just stand out amongst all the rest on a bad team in order to be that first team all whatever. Like Carter Roth. So this is a prime example. So Carter had that, the sophomore infielder. Once again, I don't want to go through his numbers because these are just ridiculous.
They are.
He had 96 hits this year in 218 at-bats with 51 RBIs. That led in hits and runs batted in. The two stats that continue to boggle my mind, just 12 walks in what were 218 at-bats and 11 strikeouts. That was it. That's unbelievable to me.
And we've had people text in saying, hey man, those 11 strikeouts were not really 11 strikeouts either. They were some sort of
they were
looking on bad pitches.
That's my point. I mean, think about it. He probably had less than 10 strikeouts in a season. He had 96 hits. I mean, the guy was up there swinging a cricket paddle for all we know. That's just absolutely nuts. But yeah, 11 strikeouts and 400 batted 440, slugged 651. No doubt was a first-team All-Selection. I was looking for him when I saw that posted yesterday. He needed to be on there, and he was, thank goodness. But he deserves a little bit of love here on the Morning Blitz because what an amazing season he had. And hearing his story from Coach Carter, talked about how, he was a self-made kid coming down here, sold his car to come play baseball. That's a great story. Mm-hmm. Those are the stories that, movies are made out of. Not saying that Carter was going to get his own movie, but still pretty darn cool.
Yeah, very cool. And, of course, they're the kind of kids that you can't help but cheer for and wish them success as, they move on or transfer, whatever it might be. Interesting also, his batting average went up come conference play. Obviously, I mean, in the Jayhawk, to get better once conference play starts, ridiculous.
Very, very nuts. One more local sporting news or sporting athlete I want to highlight this morning would be our Goodland's own Lincoln Cure. Lincoln Cure yesterday was given a 5th star by 24/7 Sports. So for those who are like, what does that mean? Well, anyway, in athletic recruiting, in college recruiting, your rankings are based upon stars. So, you could be 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star. Most of the time, kids around our region are probably 1 to 2 stars, maybe at most. Sometimes you might grab a 3-star athlete by chance. But to get to a 4-star, you need to be a really, really fantastic athlete in whatever sport we're talking about. It could be basketball, it could be baseball, it could be football. It doesn't matter. To be a 4-star athlete, you got to be really, really good. To be a 5-star athlete, that means you're like one of the top 50 guys in the nation. And it's not the surprise that Lincoln Cure is a 5th star because he is an amazing athlete. But it's just where we live in the world, you don't see 5-star athletes 5-star athletes come out very much. You just don't see that. That's a complete rarity.
You really don't. And I'm obviously just finishing up here my first year in this grand old state, but you've been here a while, decade plus. When's the last time we've had a 5th star in maybe this third of the state? You know what I mean? Like this whole section.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there ever has. Ever has been's a bad one, but it's way before in my 12 years of being out here in Northwest Western Kansas. There's never. I don't even know if there might have been a 4-star. And that might be stretching it. A 4-star in Gavin Myers. No, Jared Koenig, who was a linebacker for Oklahoma. He was a 4-star. Jared Koenig was a 4-star. So Hayes has had a couple 4-stars.
Sure.
But to get a 5-star and way out here in Western Kansas, up against the Colorado border. I mean, in this part of the country where, once again, I always go back, this is kind of considered the middle of nowhere. There have been studies saying, in comparison to a city of 150,000 people or more, I mean, this is, you got to drive a long ways to get to one from where we live. It is kind of the middle of nowhere. And to have an athlete of this caliber in this area is crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Let's be clear, too.
He's one of only 32 guys in the nation that are 5-stars. And he's in Goodland, Kansas, of all places. That's just absolutely nuts.
And the biggest thing is phenomenal accomplishment and very exciting, but not surprising. This kid has absolutely deserved every bit of all of those 5 stars. I've only been here a year, and I can tell you he is that level of athlete. He is that good at football, of course, but in track and in basketball as well. All around, just athlete in all caps with a period at the end.
And in discussing a few things and hearing a few stories, I know this was kind of one of his goals for Lincoln Cure was to be a 5-star. And so I know he's pretty excited about getting this, as I know they're heading off to state track today. So congratulations, Lincoln. Very happy for you. Proud of you. It's great to see it. And I tweeted out yesterday, I said, it's hard to imagine that this coming football season and it doesn't matter, this coming school year, me personally, I'll be broadcasting games of a kid that's a 5-star recruit. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
I'll put it in perspective for you, because I can go back on my own history from my own state. So growing up in Nebraska, in my entire time of life, which is now 35 years, I believe there has only been one 5-star player in the state of Nebraska. In my entire 35 years, one player as a 5-star.
Wow.
That was Baker Steinkühler. He was an offensive defensive lineman from Lincoln Southwest. He's the only 5-star I can remember. He's the only one. They had a kid. There was a young man this previous recruiting class. His first name was Carter from Ainsworth. He played 8-man football. He was a 4-star kid. He had schools. It was the storyline was so similar to Lincoln Cure. It's kind of eerie. He was going to an 8-man size school, so kind of like the size of Hoxie. He was going to a school the size of Hoxie up in north central Nebraska. Teams were flying in their private jets and landing and then having to drive to his school because there wasn't an airport really there. But he was an 8-man football player from Ainsworth, Nebraska. I can't remember his last name, but his first name was Carter. And he committed to Nebraska. But he had Notre Dame and all the big schools flying in to talk to him. Nick Saban called him, asked him was talking to him and recruiting him. He was getting all these recruits, but he was only a 4-star.
Yeah.
Only considered a 4-star. That is what is crazy to me. So for Goodland, Lincoln Cure, who once again, this 5th star was given out by 24/7 Sports. Thank you, Greg. Carter Nelson. Thank you, Greg, on the text line. Carter Nelson was a 4-star, and I say that's their storylines between Lincoln and Carter are just eerily similar. Fantastic 3-sport athletes from middle of nowhere towns in America. They're just eerily similar in their storylines. And it's great to see that these kids are getting these recognitions and getting this love, because there are great athletes out all over the country. But once again, it's hard to fathom that a 5-star athlete is, and one of 32 players in the nation is in Goodland, Kansas, in Northwest Kansas. It's just hard to fathom, but it's a great story. It sure is cool.
It really is.
Really cool. So congratulations, Lincoln Cure, securing a 5th-star status. Now, the ultimate goal would be, can you get 5 stars from every recruiting service? 24/7 Sports, Rivals, ESPN, and On3. Can you get 5 stars and across the board? That would be really highly impressive.
Would.
But nonetheless, getting 5 stars from one recruiting service is absolutely nuts. By the way, Lincoln's got 4 official visits set up. It's down to, it looks like, Kansas State, Oregon, Texas A&M, and I believe KU is the other one, if my memory serves me correctly. So he's got 4 official visits lined up, and those are the 4 spots he's going to go. We'll see where he ends up going. I got to talk to Lincoln. Maybe he'll make his decision on the Blitz.
See, I like that plan.
Mounts it on the Blitz.
That plan. Now we're talking.
Link, you want to come on the Blitz and announce your when you make your decision? We would love to have you on the show. That'd be pretty cool, buddy. Anyway, that's the front page for it right there. Oh, before we move on though, Royals. We talked about the Rockies and how they blew a late lead, ended up getting a win. In the end, made Ross stay up an extra half hour that he didn't need to. But the Royals, they sweep the Tigers. They hand Scooby, what do you call him? Scoobs?
Scoobs.
I'm going to call him Scooby-Doo. They handed Scoobs first loss of the season. Cole Reagans was nuts yesterday. Career high tying 12 strikeouts. I love the highlight call from Jake Eisenberg. He was cold-blooded today, people. Didn't allow a hit until the 6th when Riley Green finally got one. I'm telling you, this whole squad they're playing with extreme confidence right now.
Fun,
Isn't it just
man.
nuts?
They're fun. And I'm not going to lie to you. Going into this, obviously, as a Tigers fan, was expecting Cole to wheel and deal, especially against our hitters, who have been terrible. But they've been awful. But yeah, 12 Ks is amazing. The thing that was more surprising was Scoobs getting roughed up the way that he was. 6 hits, 4 runs, a couple of walks, just 6 Ks in those 5 innings is probably as many hits as I've seen him. I don't know that for sure, but at least off the top of my head watching his games this year, I think those are the most he's given up. So very, very impressive from the KC hitters. Michael and Bobby Witt both went, actually 2 of 5 and 2 of 4 respectively. And they had a couple times, I think both of their hits came on sort of a 1-2 punch, one after the other. And they both ended up scoring big time win and sweep for the Royals, who have now won, I believe, 6 in a row and are 13 games above 500. And yes, 6 wins in a row.
Great stats to get to. Stats of the day. Not even just a stat of the day, stats of the day. Here we go. A series sweep and a perfect homestand. The Royals did not trail for a single inning in these previous 6 games. In fact, they were only tied for 5 total innings as they improved to 32-19 with the wins. Some more stats of the day. 6 wins, 0 losses. Outscored opponents 45-18. That's plus 27. The offense hit 327 with 9 home runs. Starting pitchers had an ERA of 1.91. Opponents hit less than below the Mendoza line, 191. They hit yesterday. They hit the whole time up. 49 innings, and like I said, only tied for 54, and only tied for 4 of those 49. Sorry, led for 49 innings and tied for 5. So in all 54 innings, just absolutely nuts on that homestand. And one more stat for you. Here is the Royal starters numbers on this homestand. 6-0, 37 2/3 innings pitched, 26 hits, 46 Ks. They struck out 31% of the batters that they faced. They only walked 10. A walk hits per inning of 0.94 and an ERA of 1.91. Just crazy stats. Crazy stats from the Royals.
Bittersweet that about half of that was against the Tigers. But
I know.
Royals,
I'm sorry. I truly don't mean to rub
man.
that in your way of the Tigers, but that was
that
was only 3 games. There were another 3 games that added to that number as well. So there you go. That's the front page here for you on this Thursday morning. Oh gosh. By the way, Royals have the day off today. Rockies conclude the series with a rubber match game against the Athletics. That's at 1:30 Mountain Time. There you go. Let's get to break. We come back. We're talking NBA. Bryce Simon's going to join us next on the phone. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Thursday.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started Wesley Financial Group to do one thing, help people get out of their timeshare nightmare. When you buy a timeshare, the timeshare company can raise your annual maintenance fees at will. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Want out of your timeshare? Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-939-1441. 800-939-1441. 800-939-1441.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, Jared Law with the Andersons in Overland Park, Kansas, with your morning market update. In the overnight session, July corn up 2 1/4 at 463.5. September up 2 1/2 at 472 3/4. December up 1 1/2 at 485.5. Beans on the July up 6 1/4, 1252.5. November up 4 3/4 at 1223. KC wheat on the July up 3/4 at $7.25. September up 1 1/2 at 715 1/4. July of 25 up 1 3/4 at 743. Chicago wheat down 2 1/4, 6.90. Feeder cattle finished yesterday up 250, 37.5. Live cattle 184, 17.5. Lean hogs 95.40. Crude oil futures up 85 cents a barrel at 78.5. Gold futures down 27 an ounce at 2,530. Silver down 70 cents, 36.4. U.S. dollar index down 22 points at 104.61. Dow futures up 65 at 39,848. S&P up 37 at 5,305. Need to move any cash, grain, or want to talk about risk management, you can reach out to myself, Jared Law. 748 1000. If you're out in Colorado, you can reach out to John Hankey or Joe Koenig at 977-4444.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
At Case IH, we know you work hard all year to maximize your yield at harvest. And to do that, you need a combine that works as hard as you do. That's why we built the new AF11 with more horsepower, more efficiency, and more capacity than any other combine out there. Plus, built-in automation to harvest more easily than ever before. To do more with every engine hour, you need equipment that's as good as you are. You need the best in your field. Visit your local Case IH dealer for more on the AF11.
There are a lot of inconsistencies when growing soybeans. The soil, the weather, the market. You need something you can count on, like Revitech fungicide from BASF. It consistently outyields other fungicides by up to 9.5 bushels per acre, consistently wins in on-farm head-to-head comparisons, and consistently makes for happy farmers. Revitech fungicide. Visit revxfields.com for full results. Always read and follow label directions. Yield data based on summary of 2019 through 2022 RevX field scale demonstration trials.
It's graduation time for many high school and college students. Make sure your student is ready to hit the road for life's next adventure with a new or pre-owned vehicle from Vince's GM Center in Burlington. Vince's large selection offers something for every driver and every budget. And with their access to multiple lenders for all credit types, the team at Vince's will make sure to make the purchasing process easy and efficient. Shop their entire selection and get pre-approved to purchase at vincesgmcenter.com. Congratulations, graduates, from Vince's GM Center, where they've been selling cars for years and making friends for life.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz.
All they do is sit around and talk.
On 102.5 U Rock and the Rocking M app.
$8:40 Central, 7:40 Mountain Time on a Thursday. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz as always, no matter which way you're listening. We are pleased to bring in our guest today, joining us for the second time all time. It'll be kind of our NBA expert a little bit. Bryce Simon joins us now. Christian, correct me here. He helps cover the Detroit Pistons a little bit there. That's how you guys bonded over. You and Bryce did a little bit.
That is Bryce, how we how we bonded. But he's got a long list of accomplishments and things he's got his hands in here. Motor City Hoops, Pistons Pulse, Game Theory, Draft Digest, Basketball Bulletin.
I have a quick question. So had you read any of his stuff before ever meeting him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on now.
Really?
A lot of it hurt because it was about the Pistons, and he's a pretty positive guy, but the team is not, the greatest basketball team ever. But you know what? We'll start right there with a quick one just to satisfy my own inquiries. Pistons dropped to the 5th pick. Bryce, how are we feeling about that? Where are we going with that 5th pick?
Well, what's up, guys, man? Thank you for having me on. And for your listener, I'm actually a teacher. Like, none of this is my full-time job. So yeah, this is all kind of part-time work, but yeah, I got my fingers in a lot of stuff. But listen, like, I cover the Pistons. I'm not a fan of the Pistons, so I don't have an emotional attachment when they go from number 1 to number 5. For the listeners, this happened to this team twice. It happened to them last year as well. Last year, it hurt a lot worse for the team because that was the Victor Wembanyama draft. This one, I don't think it's quite as big a deal because the draft isn't as front-loaded as a generational type prospect like Victor Wembanyama was. So not ideal, but last year's definitely was more detrimental than them dropping to 5 this year.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially with the talent load up front. But we've got some conference finals games going on. Sadly, Denver not playing in them. They were my pick to win the West. They were your pick to win the West. What do you think went wrong for Denver there against the T-Wolves?
Listen, like I've talked to some people who said like they feel like Denver just kind of ran out of steam. Like they just wore down. And I know people they don't want to hear this, but they played over 100 games last season. Then it's a shorter off season because of the run to the finals and the NBA championship. I believe this is either the 5th or 6th straight year where the NBA champion did not get past the conference semifinals the following year. guys, this is what the NBA is trying to do. They are trying to create parity. They've put rules in place to make it harder, that as you get better players, you pay them more money, it makes it harder for you to build out your roster. One thing that went way underrated for the Nuggets last offseason was Bruce Brown moving on. And that wasn't the Nuggets not trying to keep him. He just went and got way more money elsewhere than they could offer him. Like, that's just the way the salary cap works in the NBA. And I don't think they had enough depth. And so their stars had to play more throughout the year. I think by the time they got into it, they get wore down. And the last thing, that Minnesota Timberwolves team is specifically built to beat the Denver Nuggets. Tim Connolly built the Nuggets, went to the Wolves, and he has built the Wolves to then beat the Nuggets.
You're absolutely right. They literally are built for this purpose. You mentioned the bench issues, their depth. Do you see or foresee any sort of big shakeup this offseason, or just sort of trying to fill out the team? Because you're right, bench scoring, especially in that T-Wolves series, but all postseason and all season really, very up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to do something in terms of they got to get it right with the options they do have. So they have an end of the first round draft pick. You know, last year they went, I think the strategy they took last year was right in terms of they drafted all older players, Jalen Pickett, the Tyson kid, Julian Straw, like older guys that you thought could contribute right away. It's just none of them panned out. Now, maybe they'll pan out this next season. They have another pick late in the first round. Hopefully you can draft an older prospect that comes in and helps you. They'll have an MLE to go get some sort of player that's already in the league. But there's just not a whole lot of maneuverability for these teams that are really good paying high salaries. The only other thing, I don't think this is going to happen, just the things that we're hearing. But I did wonder after that result, is this do you move Michael Porter Jr. for some other pieces? Do you move, like, I think Aaron Gordon fits too well, but like, is there some sort of move just to shake things up and change it up? I don't get those vibes with the Nuggets. I think they run it back and try to build out the depth.
Bryce, I have a question for you. I want to go to the Western Conference Finals game last night, where it's 108-105. The Wolves come up a little bit short, and they even mentioned post-game that they were exhausted from the Denver series. How much do you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of emotion into that. And here's what you wonder. I mentioned earlier, right, that this is a team that was built to beat the Nuggets. So whenever you build your team to beat a specific team, and you do that in the Western Conference semifinals, well, then is there a little bit of a letdown? This Mavericks team is a different monster, right? Like, with Luka is different than anybody. Their bigs, while obviously not as good as Nikola Jokic, are completely different. These guys are lob threats, rim protectors, young, athletic type of players. So they went from this team that they were built to beat and playing that style to now you go play a completely different type of team. I can see a little bit of a hangover just from the excitement of Game 7 on the road, the way they came back, all of that. But like, they better figure it out quick. You know, it's play, day off, play, day off, play, day off. And this Mavs team seems to be playing well at the right time.
You mentioned there, Bryce, the bigs that the Mavs have, and we talked about it real quickly this morning on the first segment. They have nowhere near the size, of course, of Minnesota, but Gafford and Lively splitting those minutes have been really good, and especially Lively on those switches. They were +8 rebounding last night versus a much larger team. How do you think they did that? And then obviously, how important is rebounding success and the success of the bigs in this series?
Yeah, I mean, I think rebounding has become an underrated aspect. You know, I don't know how many high school kids you have listening. I assume you do with what you both cover. They should be if they're not. Like rebounding, high school. Like, I watch high school games where it's huge. I watch college games where it's huge. It happened in the game last night. I thought Minnesota I think they were down 8. Minnesota misses. They get an offensive rebound, kick out. Anthony Edwards gets a clean look, knocks it down after he had really struggled. And Minnesota went on a run after that. Same exact scenario. I don't know if the Timberwolves had taken the lead or is tied or something like that. Lively goes and gets an offensive rebound, kicks out to Luka, does a little sidestep 3, knocks it down. Like, it changes games. They're momentum changing plays, going to get an offensive rebound, or the ones that are really underrated are boxing out and getting a defensive rebound because that's not as sexy, but it keeps teams from doing that on the offensive end. I just think Lively and Gafford are so energetic. Derek Jones Jr. has been really good all season. We talked about how do the Nuggets get better. That's a minimum contract, like vet minimum contract that Derek Jones Jr. is on, and he's starting in the Western Conference Finals and playing well. That's the type of guy the Nuggets would have to go. I mean, it's not going to be him. He's going to get paid this offseason, but something like that. I think the Mavs have just found their flow, and like you said it, like they get a really good rotation there with Lively and Gafford just kind of alternating minutes.
Eastern Conference Finals. Bryce Simon is our guest here on the Morning Blitz, talking NBA basketball. Eastern Conference Finals Game 2. Where do you think this second game goes, and why so?
I don't know, man. Guys, like Indiana should have taken that Game 1. Like it was right there for them. Boston does this all the time, even at home. You talk about a crazy stat. So Boston, for anybody who doesn't know, Boston went to the NBA Finals, lost to the Warriors 2 years ago. Lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Heat last year, back in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. They're like 500 at home in the playoffs during that stretch. So like for a team with a ton of success, and they were insane at home in the regular season as well, but they seem to drop a home game in Game 1 or Game 2. They've done it in the first 2 rounds of these playoffs as well. That was Indiana's chance. Indiana's been good at home, man. If they could steal Game 2, I think we really have a series. But if I'm being honest with you guys, I picked this one in 5. I'm giving Indiana 1 game. I just think Boston's the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think Indiana's made a great run. I don't want to take anything from them. They ended up beating a couple teams in these playoffs runs that were really, really beat down with injuries.
Bryce, we were having the discussion yesterday, weren't we, Christian, talking about, great teams that were built, and then you have, of course, the star power teams like in the Western Conference. Like I look at it this way. I look at the T-Wolves have a really good, I think, all-around team for the most part. They do have some star players, but then you have on the Mavericks the 2 stars of like Doncic and Irving. And so I look at them almost a little. I know NBA guys are going to shake their heads because I'm just not a humongous NBA nut, but I look at them almost like different teams. Like you've got the Mavs have really 2 high superstar players, and the T-Wolves have some decent stars. And Ant Edwards is becoming a superstar. But what do you think what team has more advantage in this day and age in the NBA?
Yeah, no, it's a great question about team building. And again, like I said earlier, the NBA has made the rules where, honestly, guys, like, we used to talk about the big threes, right? LeBron and Wade and Bosh. And, LeBron tried to recreate it everywhere. We saw it with the Suns this year, right? Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, they couldn't surround them with any other good players because they take up so much of the salary cap. So the days of 3 stars is gone. What the conversation is going to be now is what you just asked, Ross. Is it 2 stars like Luka and Kyrie? Or is it 1 star? And we saw it with the Knicks. Jalen Brunson was a star throughout the playoffs. I think it just puts a little bit too much pressure on that guy. And we saw him, in his body break down a little bit in the playoffs. So for me, I do think, especially in the NBA, stars win series. Like I want the best player in the series when I go into one. But what the Mavericks have done an incredible job of, and they made 2 of these, trades at the deadline to add, they have their 2 stars, but they built out their roster really well around them. Lively was a first-round pick last year. Gafford was a trade deadline acquisition. P.J. Washington was a trade deadline acquisition. And I just said Derek Jones Jr. was a vet min signing. You can do it with 2 stars, but you have to get those kind of production from rookies and trades and vet minimum signings.
It really has been so interesting to follow how the Mavs have built the team that they have right now. You said season 5 was your original prediction. That was mine as well, actually. So I feel a little better about it now. But Mavs take Game 1. Does that change a prediction that you had there at all? And just regardless, Mavs T-Wolves, who you got and how many?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was thinking that series would go 7. So nothing in that Game 1 changed my mind there. So I do think I feel a little bit better about the Mavs in that game, but I don't know. Like you said, Ant Edwards looked tired. They shot a ton of threes, which they're not necessarily a 3-point shooting team in that way. I think they took almost 50. So I want to give them some credit that they'll figure you'll figure some things out. Again, get past the hangover of beating the team that you were built to beat and settle into this series a little bit more. So, we've seen some weird things with their series where them and the Nuggets, the first 4 games, the road team won. That was weird. So I think the Wolves will settle in. I think we'll get a really good series, but I have a hard time betting against Luka, Kyrie, and that Mavs team right now. It looks like they got something figured out.
He is Bryce Simon, our NBA expert. Thank you, Bryce, so much for the time. Really do appreciate it. And we'll catch up soon, all right?
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Once again, great stuff there from Bryce Simon. And for those who don't know, yes, he is one of the assistant basketball coaches for the Lake and Bronx. That is correct. That is Bryce Simon.
Football.
And football. He was. I think he was.
He was a basketball coach.
Right.
He was telling me he had to back off from the basketball because he does so much during basketball season, outside of work.
Right. Outside of work. That's right.
He's a full-time teacher. I don't know how he does all the stuff that he does.
Well, anyway, great interview there. Great inside information. That guy is an encyclopedia of NBA knowledge right there. That's for sure. All right, we get to our final break. We'll come back with the walk-off and finish up a few thoughts here on a Thursday edition of the Morning Blitz.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Sometimes I think Colby Lumber is the best kept secret in Colby. In the Colby area, we're just known as the Lumberyard. However, we are so much more. We carry Milwaukee tools, Shop Fox tools, a complete line of electrical and plumbing supplies, closet shelving, interior and exterior doors, Marvin and Simonton windows, Onyx showers. We also sell birch cabinets and have a kitchen and bath designer on staff. Whatever your project around the house, just think of Colby Lumber. We're more than just a lumberyard.
The Farmer State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmer State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
Weigel Concrete LLC of Colby is the best choice for concrete contracting in Northwest Kansas. Sean and his crew at Weigel Concrete have years of experience and can handle all types of concrete construction jobs. They're fully licensed and insured and take a great deal of pride in doing the job right the first time, every time. Weigel Concrete LLC is Northwest Kansas proud and ready to serve you. Call 785-443-5784. That's 785-443-5784. Weigel Concrete LLC of Colby.
It's the Morning Blitz.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central on 102.5 U Rock and the Rocking M app.
Shout out to Christian. That was a great get. Bryce was a great interview. Thanks again, Christian, for bringing him on. That was excellent. It's the first time you've contributed to this show. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No, really, that was good. We'll have to have him on again. That was fantastic. I do want to get to college baseball. We'll get to that in the walk-off. I do want to remind folks that even though we don't have any teams playing, it is state baseball and softball does get going today around the state. And I tell you, there's plenty of regional ties in state baseball and state softball. First and foremost, in softball. In Salina is where you have the number 1 seeded Scott City Lady Beavers at 19-13. They're the top seed in the 4A bracket, is where they sit right now. In the 3A bracket is where you find the unbeaten Holcomb Lady Longhorns at 25-0. They're the number 1 seed in their bracket. So the GWAC has not one but 2 teams sitting at the top of a respected state bracket at 3A or 4A. And then if you just want to throw in a little bit extra fun, a lot of teams play Hayes T&P from this point. They're in the 2-1A state tournament as a 5 seed. So a lot of regional teams are at the state softball tournament today. State baseball, by the way, 3A, which is, no really regional teams went there because of Hoisington Central Plains, but they're the 6th seed at 3A. They're in Manhattan. Let's see. I was going to look up. Hayes TMP made it on the boys' side for baseball as well at the 2-1A down there in Great Bend. And I don't believe anybody from 4A. Scott said he didn't make it in 4A. So that's a softball, definitely a lot more regional than baseball. And it is kind of a somber day because for the previous 2 years, I've been blessed of going and calling games at Toynton Family Stadium, which is always awesome and a lot of fun. And that just didn't happen this year, but that's all right. Still, pretty cool big day today with state baseball and softball getting underway across the state. Anything before we get to the walk-off that we missed today, CPD?
No, I think we're all good. It is really cool. I just think that they have the state baseball and softball over in Manhattan. I think that is an underrated thing, especially, we talked about, hey, we're a little bit in the middle of nowhere out here.
I mean, they, don't get me wrong. I mean, if they played at X Stadium, which is where 5A is, that's where Wichita State plays. That'd be cool. The 6A plays at Hoagland Park where Kansas is, KU plays. That's cool. I mean, it's just neat. It's what makes it cool. That's one thing that I always loved about Nebraska state championship games growing up in high school is that the games were played where the Huskers played. They played in Memorial Stadium. They played in Pinnacle Bank Arena, which was so cool. Those stadiums that you grew up going to as a kid and watching games you got to play in and play on, which was super cool. And not to mention it was televised by one of the best local media broadcast companies in Nebraska, Public Television of all time. And they did such a great job. But anyway, let's move on to the walk-off.
A 3-run walk-off home run, a game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion, that baby's go.
Which, by the way, is another great topic. The coverage of state title games and state tournaments. I mean, NET or Nebraska Public Television did such a great job throughout many years, and they do high-quality broadcasts for football, basketball, and now they moved into baseball, softball. And so it really is a great high-quality broadcast, and I think a lot of other states and high school athletic associations should take notes on how that is done. Anyway, on to college baseball from yesterday. Kansas State, an early winner. They avoided elimination. They take down West Virginia. A great performance from Owen Borma, who goes a complete 9 innings. Has 10 strikeouts to help lead the Wildcats to a victory over West Virginia. They will play again today, Kansas State, at 9 a.m. So here, just a matter of moments, they'll be first pitch again. They love having breakfast in baseball. They will take on TCU, an elimination game at 9 a.m. KU baseball with that win on Tuesday. They play Oklahoma today in the winners bracket at 12:30 Central Time. And also Nebraska staved off elimination with the win over Purdue late last night in Omaha. And there were some other great games going on around the entire country, including the SEC, another walk-off winner by the same guy who won the walk-off win the night before for Mississippi State. That's crazy.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely crazy. So anyway, if you're bored, watch some college baseball. I even got my shirt on. Greatest show on dirt, people. Greatest show on dirt. All right, that'll do it for us today. For Christian, I'm Ross. It was a fun show. Thanks again for listening. We're back again on Friday to wrap up the week. We will see you then.